What's going on, everyone, and welcome into Plazone's podcast, filled to the brim with glitchy analysis and freezing cold takes, so cold that they're boiling hot. Today's podcast, proudly sponsored by Hungry Howie's Baton Rouge. Guys, check out their website. They've got takeout deals, delivery deals, pizza, wings, cheese bread, garlic bread, you name it, they've got it. Shout out to Hungry Howie's. Today's episode, we're talking about the NBA play-in tournament. We're going to be reviewing and previewing the Western Conference side of things today. So we're talking Pelicans versus Lakers and Warriors versus Kings. So let's go ahead and get into it. Tonight, I will be in attendance for this game. I am so excited. I have never been to a playoff type environment, and this is basically as close as it gets without being in the real setting. So, Pelicans Lakers. Let's get started. An overview. For the Pelicans, we've got continuity issues. Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and CJ McCollum have only played about 43 games together. Now, with or without any of those select players, they still win about 55 to 60% of their games. And it's also the same when they all three play together. They win about 55 to 60% of their games. However, I think that when it comes to playoff time, and the game starts to slow down, that chemistry, the continuity that you need, it's so crucial to what playoff winning basketball looks like. And I think that could be an issue. So that's the first point that I want to cover when I'm talking about the Pelicans. However, the second thing that I want to talk about is that this is an all-around team. You have defenders like Herb Jones. You've got shooters like Trey Murphy. Shot creators, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, slashers like Zion Williamson. You've got a big man in Jonas Valanciunas. I think that this team has just about everything that you could need to make a push in the playoffs, but it's kind of like a team that is a jack of all trade and master of none. That's my big issue with the Pelicans right now. However, this team is probably the strongest mid-range team that I can think of when everyone's healthy. Zion on the elbow, Brandon Ingram on the wing, not necessarily behind the three-point line, but right inside there. They are lethal. And I think that that could play into their favor tonight, and especially going into the playoffs as the game slows down, a lot more half-court sets get going. That's what the Pelicans really excel in. Last but not least, I want to talk about the mini big three. Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and CJ McCollum. Like I said earlier, this team doesn't have the continuity and the chemistry that you would hope that they would have after playing together for almost 2 full seasons. Well, 2 full regular seasons, not counting all the games that they've missed together. I think that this is a finals contending team if they all play at their peaks. And they are very, very capable of doing that right now, especially given the fact that Zion is completely healthy, CJ McCollum is completely healthy. The big X factor is going to be Brandon Ingram's health, but we're going to get into that in just a little bit. Let's move on and talk about the Lakers. The 1-2 punch of LeBron and AD has been a consistent winning position in the NBA now for, I think, 4 years. 2020, 21, 21, 22, 22, 23, and now 23, 24. Yes, they are the 9 seed, but when LeBron and AD play together, it is extremely efficient, high IQ basketball, and they can tear apart inexperienced teams, kind of like this Pelicans one. The big thing to me, though, is that this Lakers team overall is playing really healthy. AD has got some hip and back spasm issues, but everybody on the team has talked about how this is not going to be a problem like tonight. Maybe in the playoffs, this could be an issue, but as of right now, AD is going to go, and he's going to go at 100%. The pick and roll for the Lakers is so crucial. D'Lo AD, LeBron AD, it honestly probably accounts for the vast majority of the Lakers' points, whether that be passing it to the roller AD, getting an open look from three, or creating a look for somebody else. The Lakers probably run the best pick and roll in the entire league that I can think of. There's only one or two teams that can defend it really well, and I'm going to talk about the style that the Pelicans should probably play when I talk about their keys to victory. But last but not least, the Lakers role players have been stepping up as of recently, and I'm specifically talking about D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, and Austin Reeves. Now, they are starters, yes, but the role that they play in the high minutes that they get, filling those up with stats, whether that be rebounds, steals, assists, points, it's so crucial to take some of the load off of LeBron and AD. And this past Sunday versus the Pelicans, the Lakers role players did exactly that. So let's talk about the keys to victory. So for the Pelicans, we've got causing turnovers, wreaking havoc on this Lakers offense. The key to that is Herb Jones. My personal opinion, he's probably the most talented defender in the NBA, and specifically, he's probably the best wing defender in the NBA. I am a Herb Jones preacher. I will go to bat for Herb Jones and his defense. I think causing turnovers, especially in transition, is so important. Having the Lakers beat themselves is probably the number one way that the Pelicans can win. Next up, Brandon Ingram needs to play close to 100%. He missed, I think, close to 15 games to close out the year. He did play versus the Lakers on Sunday, but he played limited minutes. He only played 23 minutes, and he only shot the ball 9 times. If the Pelicans are going to win tonight, Brandon Ingram is going to have to play 30 minutes plus, and he's going to have to shoot the ball probably 15 to 17 times and score about 22 to 23 points. Not to mention, he has to be a threat at minimum. The Lakers, if they can sag off of Brandon Ingram or they don't have to worry about him driving to the paint, they can use those resources that they would throw at him elsewhere, and that's a huge problem for the Pelicans. So Brandon Ingram being close to 100%, that is a huge factor to the Pelicans winning tonight. Next up, you got to keep AD out of the paint. Not only does he draw fouls like no other in the league except for maybe Joel Embiid, he also blocks shots on defense, grabs rebounds on both ends of the floor. Keeping AD out of the paint and denying him the basketball in ISO situations down low, that is a massive key to victory. If Anthony Davis can beat you from mid-range and three-point range, I think the Pelicans could live with that. But having him as the pick and roll guy and rolling to the basket and getting easy looks or drawing fouls, I would be beating myself up if I was Willie Green after this game, if that's how you ended up going out. AD dropping a 30 piece with 15 rebounds and 4 blocks because you couldn't keep him out of the paint. Now, all that being said, that's very hard to do because Anthony Davis is, when he's healthy, a top 10 player in the league. But all that being said, I think that the best way to stop this Lakers team is to play drop coverage in the pick and roll. Make the Lakers shoot the basketball. Yes, they are shooting 37% from the floor this year, but I think that's based off of how other teams defend the pick and roll against the Lakers. It creates wide open looks when people are crashing behind the big man who is the picker's defender. Now, I don't have like a drawing board or anything, but just picture this. D'Angelo Russell is at the top of the key. Anthony Davis comes to pick that defender that's guarding D'Angelo Russell. For example, Jonas Valanciunas comes behind him to hedge the screen so that D'Angelo Russell can't shoot a three. Anthony Davis cuts behind Jonas Valanciunas, and then one of the other wing defenders has to come cover AD, leaving a wide open look for three. That is a ton of the Lakers' three-point shots right there. I think rather instead of hedging the screen, make D'Angelo Russell, make LeBron James, or anybody else bringing the ball up the floor, shoot a pickup three. If they can dribble off a screen and shoot off the dribble and make those threes, I think you live with that. But what you can't live with is Anthony Davis screaming toward the paint and then leaving somebody wide open for three. So drop coverage is my recommendation for the Pelicans to win. Next up, Zion and Brandon Ingram need to play in the mid-range. Having Zion on the elbow, I also want to say this, oscillate Brandon Ingram and Zion. Don't play them at the same time for most of the game. Why? Because they both play not similar games, but in similar parts of the paint. Similar parts of the court. Brandon Ingram is playing more on the wing, but he is playing in the post, and having Zion in his strongest spot, the elbow, that clogs everything up. I think putting both of those guys on the court separately is probably your best bet, because when Brandon Ingram's in the post, he can pass the ball. He's a very capable passer, averaging close to 5 assists this year, and so is Zion. So when both of those guys are on the court, defenses tend to gravitate towards them and create open looks for other players. I think having them on the court, at staggered times, is the best way for the Pelicans not only to have the best looks, but create a sense of continuity where the team is playing one style for the majority of the game. That's my fifth key to victory. Now we've got our last. Trey Murphy needs to get good looks. This guy is the Pelicans' sixth man, and when he gets hot, it is absolutely insane. Hang on, I'm going to read a quick stat that I've got about Trey Murphy. When Trey Murphy scores 16 or more points, hang on one second. When Trey Murphy scores 16 or more points, the Pelicans are 15-4. Getting him open looks and letting him get hot not only takes the load off of your mini big three and CJ, BI, and Zion, but it also gives you juice off the bench, which is so unbelievably important at the end of the first, early part of the second quarters, and the end of the third, early part of the fourth quarters. That's when the Lakers really like to take advantage of stuff, because LeBron and AD will play long minutes in those sections and take advantage of a weaker bench. So those 6 things are the keys to win for the Pelicans. Now, next up, we've got the Lakers. The Lakers' keys to victory: LeBron and AD have to get the pick and roll going. I think LeBron obviously is the greatest player, if not one of the greatest players, and he has picked apart some of the best defenses of all time. We're talking all of those Spurs teams, the big 3 Celtics teams, you name it. Like, LeBron has seen it. And I think having him and AD in their most natural setting, playing off of each other in a pick and roll, is the best scenario for the Lakers. But secondly, D'Angelo Russell must be able to create shots for himself. He must be able to create shots for himself and for his teammates tonight. I think that the Pelicans, like I said in the keys to victory, are going to make D'Angelo Russell play a huge factor in beating the Pelicans tonight. And so he has to perform. He has to be able to shoot pull-up shots, which he's shown time and time again that he's very capable of doing. But secondly, he has to be able to pass the rock at an efficient level. And once again, in different times, we've seen him be able to do that. All that being said, the size advantage is so key to the Lakers' victory. Yes, the Pelicans have Jonas Valanciunas, but he is no match for Anthony Davis, and I think the Pelicans are probably going to end up playing a smaller lineup to maybe move a little bit faster and shoot from 3 more often. So, Anthony Davis locking down the paint by himself and keeping that size advantage while allowing the rest of the Lakers team to spread the floor, That is extremely important for their path to victory. Having Anthony Davis play the center, I think, is probably the best way for the Lakers to win the game. And I know he doesn't like it a lot, but he is an extremely talented center. Besides Jokic and Embiid, he's up there in the top three big men in the league right now. Next up, ISO CJ McCollum on defense. Now, statistically, CJ McCollum is having one of his better years, but I just don't know if I trust him to play a heavy role on the defensive end if the Lakers can isolate him. Having him against Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell, in my opinion, is a mismatch. And instead of having Herb Jones, which is the next key to victory on the basketball, somehow screening CJ McCollum or Jonas Valanciunas onto the ball, that is the key to win for the Lakers. So last but not least, keep Herb off the ball. You heard me up earlier. I think Herb's one of the best defenders. Keeping him completely inactive on defense, guarding like Rui Hachimura or LeBron in the spot up, that is the way for the Lakers to win because it keeps him uninvolved. He can't create turnovers when he's not near the ball, and he can't contest shots if he's on the opposite side of the court guarding a wing. So keep Herb off the ball. That's how the Lakers are going to win this game. So last but not least, we've got my predictions for this game. I think that the Lakers win. I just cannot doubt LeBron in this spot. I've seen it time and time again. I can't see the end of his run yet. So I think the Lakers will win. But more importantly than that, I think Brandon Ingram's health is going to play a big factor. Like I said, he played 23 minutes on Sunday. It's Tuesday. So how much better how much healthier can he be in just 48 hours? Probably not much. So the Lakers have a major mismatch down low. I think that Anthony Davis is going to feast tonight, especially in the pick and roll. I've stated that already probably a dozen times, but that's if you go and watch the Lakers Pelicans highlights from this past Sunday, where the Pelicans were playing everyone because they're trying to secure a playoff spot rather than falling into the play-in tournament like they did, Anthony Davis absolutely tortured Willie Green on Sunday. So I think that's going to probably happen yet again. The battle of the role players. This is such an important factor to me. Jose Alvarado, excuse me, and Trey Murphy and Larry Nance, like those are really good role players, but I think the Lakers are more established in that area. I even really like Jackson Hayes to come off the bench and possibly get some revenge minutes against his former team in the Pelicans. All that being said, I like Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, and D'Angelo Russell way more than I like the Pelicans role players. Jonas Valanciunas kind of plays a redundant role in this game. He's not that great of a shot blocker. He's a good rebounder, but Anthony Davis is just better. So the Lakers are also hotter. Off the All-Star break, the Lakers have really kind of put the pieces together. Meanwhile, the Pelicans have just been dealing with Brandon Ingram's major injury towards the end of the year, not getting the continuity that they need to make a playoff push. And so I really like the Lakers in this spot. Last but not least, we saw this game on Sunday. The Lakers absolutely ran the floor against the Pelicans. I don't see that really changing tonight. Yes, it's hard to beat a team 2 times in a row, but if there's anybody that knows how to do that, it's the king of the playoffs, LeBron James. All that being said, Lakers win. Now, let's talk about the Warriors versus the Kings. To me, this is the more interesting matchup just because there's more history. They're in the same division. They played in the playoffs last year. We had some historic all-time performances last year on both sides of the basketball. Warriors-Kings is going to be one heck of a game, not only because of the history, but also because of the importance of this game. The Lakers-Pelicans game has the implications of a playoff spot, but it's not a loser goes home scenario. And that's what this is right here for the Warriors Kings. The loser goes home. Crazy, crazy implications here to me. Both teams are 46 and 36. The Kings are dealing with some major injuries to Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter. Both of these guys are the juice off the bench for the Kings. And so their depth as of recently has been severely diminished. But this is a revenge game for them and a chance to overcome the Warriors dynasty shadowing over them for the past 15 years, honestly. The Kings have not made a playoff run since the early 2000s, and a lot of that has to do with their in-division rival in the Golden State Warriors. This is a huge revenge game for the Kings, and it's at home. That arena is going to be going nuts. The fans are going to want to smack that button and light the beam tonight, but we'll have to wait and see. The Kings, however, closed out on a cold streak. Finished the season, their last 7 games, 2-5, and after the All-Star break, they don't look that great, and I think that goes back into playing into their injuries. Both of these factors, playing cold and the injuries, I personally have a lot of doubts, but I'll get into my prediction because it might surprise you at the end. For the Warriors, the band is together once again. They seem healthy. The only injury they have is to Gary Payton II. But you got Draymond, Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry. These guys are ready to make one more run. Maybe it can happen. But overall, the balanced units from the starters to the bench is so crucial to me in a game like this because you don't want to put too much pressure on your star like Stephen Curry to absolutely carry this game. Now, that's probably what he's going to end up doing if he can get the looks he's looking for, but that's not going to happen if you throw the basketball in his hand every single possession and say, Stephen Curry, you got to create, you got to shoot a 40-footer and make half of them to win this game. So the balanced units to me are such an important part of this Warriors team. Having Chris Paul off the bench is so important when Draymond comes off the floor because you have a distributor. You don't have to put that in the hands of either an inexperienced player like a Brandon Podziemski, or you don't have to put it into the hands of Stephen Curry, and you can let him create the best way that he knows how. Next important part of this Warriors team, no technical fouls. Draymond Green has obviously had problem after problem after problem on the court with his antics, slapping players, stomping on players, kicking players, screaming at refs, getting thrown out of games. But recently, that hasn't been a major problem. He even had Klay Thompson on his podcast and talked about what it feels like to be a Warriors teammate and watch Draymond get ejected. I think that could honestly play into how he feels. All that being said, this is the one last dance for the Warriors. I don't think that they can make another run. Stephen Curry is going to be 37 next year come playoff time. Draymond's going to be 34 or 35. Same with Klay. They've all battled. Steph Curry's battled all kinds of ankle injuries. Klay Thompson has a torn Achilles and a torn ACL to deal with. And Draymond, his body type, I just don't know how well it's going to age. So this is the last dance, I think, for the Warriors. But let's talk about the keys to win. First things first, the Kings have to get Sabonis on the elbow. Domantas Sabonis, in my opinion, is the best player for the Kings, even better than De'Aaron Fox, just because he can impact the game in so many different levels. He is a distributor. He's a scorer. He can shoot the mid-range. He can rim protect. I think he's the heart and soul of this Kings team. And so getting him the basketball is so unbelievably important because you have to get the ball in your best player's hands when it comes to a winner-take-all type game. Next up, they've got to rotate bodies on Curry. Having one guy being like, you're the Curry stopper tonight, deal with it, that is a terrible plan. Stephen Curry runs probably the most out of any player ever in NBA history. That's going to be absolutely exhausting. And even if it's just for one game, I don't know if anybody on the Kings is capable of doing that for 40 minutes, basically. All that being said, there is one player that's probably going to come off the bench tonight, Davion Mitchell. He is going to be Curry's defender coming off the bench. And his defense is so crucial. Think Matthew Dellavedova in the 2016 3-1 comeback, the 2015 NBA Finals, Cavaliers versus Warriors, where Andre Iguodala ended up winning the Finals MVP because Stephen Curry, for a few games, was getting absolutely clamped by Matthew Dellavedova. That's the role that Davion Mitchell is going to have to play tonight. And guess who we learned from? Matthew Dellavedova himself. So, all that being said, play aggressive defense on Stephen Curry, even if it means racking up a few fouls and just letting him know that you're not going to let him run all over the court without you having something to say about it. Next up, we've got creating looks for Keon Ellis. A lot of you listeners probably don't even know who Keon Ellis is. He is an undrafted player out of Alabama from 2022, played a ton of G League. Now he is in the Kings starting lineup, and he is shooting 47% from three, shooting 5 threes a game, averaging 10 points. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but in a game like this, De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis can't score 120 points by themselves. A role player has to step up, and I think that if the Kings win tonight, it's going to be because of Keon Ellis. If he can score 15 to 17, which is way over his average, that's enough for me for the Kings to win this game. I think that he is, I don't know if I'd call him an elite shooter, but he's definitely a good shooter, if not a great one. Getting him the looks that he needs to ignite the Kings offense and probably take some of that pressure off of Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, that's crucial. Next up, we've got let Klay and Jonathan Kuminga beat you. It's so frustrating. In Game 7 last year, Kings-Warriors, Stephen Curry drops 50. Like that, and then the series is over. Game 7, one of the most legendary performances of all time. Curry dropping 50 to send you home, send you packing in your own arena. That's devastating, in my opinion. That probably threw a gut punch to this organization that they were not ready for. And so, responding to that by denying Curry this chance to secure this victory and opening the door for Kuminga and Klay to beat you, I think that's the way to go. If Jonathan Kuminga, Klay Thompson, or potentially Andrew Wiggins can win this game for the Warriors, as the Sacramento Kings, you have to let that be. Even though it's a winner-take-all game, that's just my opinion. I think that's an acceptable way to lose. Now, last point. This is probably the most obvious point, but just so crucial because in the NBA, you see a lot of teams just not do this. Hedge screens. Do not give an inch to any Warriors shooter. Curry, Klay Thompson, even Pods. I'd even put Wiggins on this list. Do not give them an inch off of a screen. You have to hedge it. If Draymond Green, this is going back to the same sentiment of Kuminga and Klay. If Draymond Green or Kevon Looney or whoever's doing the picking or Jonathan Kuminga, if they roll to the basket and can finish a contested layup consistently throughout the night, so be it. But what you can't have is Curry getting wide open. That I can't emphasize that enough. Do not let that happen. All right, let's talk about the Warriors' keys to victory. Oh, hang on 1 second. I just noticed an error. Boom. Boom. There we go. Perfect. Let's talk about the Warriors' key to victory. Oh, I just noticed something else. Apologies, everyone. At Plaisance Podcast, we are always thinking about being grammatically correct. So, excuse me if I need to correct an error in the middle of this show, but let's keep going. The number one key to victory for the Golden State Warriors is keeping Draymond level headed on the court, no techs, no ejections. We saw Draymond get ejected last year. Huge deficit for the Warriors. I think they ended up winning their game that they needed to, but regardless, you always think Draymond getting ejected, missing a game, you always think of game 5 or game 6. I'm sorry. I think it's game 6 of the NBA Finals, the 3-1 comeback. Too little, too late for the Warriors. The Cavaliers overcame the Cavaliers absolutely climbed the mountain during Draymond's absence, and it was too little, too late for Draymond to come back in game 7 and win it for the Warriors. That's what I'm thinking when I'm thinking Draymond get ejected. He is just such an important part of this Warriors team. Having him missing in possibly the last Big 3 game between the 3 stars, that's not how you want to go out. Klay Thompson has to get going. You can't have a 5 for 18 type of night. You got to make shots early. Now, Klay Thompson, surprisingly, plays way better on the road and more efficiently than he does at home. So, luckily, this Warriors game is on the road against the Kings tonight. But overall, what I noticed this Warriors team doesn't necessarily do at an elite level is crash the defensive glass against a offensive rebounder like Domantas Sabonis. We saw in the games that the Warriors lost last year that Sabonis had a field day on the boards. He is averaging, I think, 12 or 13 rebounds a game. If you can keep that sub 10, you're probably going to win the basketball game. Next up, very similar to the sentiment that I had earlier with Brandon Ingram and Zion and splitting that time because both of their games are very similar. CP3 and Draymond are two completely different players, and they both play differently, but their role on the team is still the same. The shot creator, the point guard, whatever you want to call it. Now, Draymond is not a guard, but he's the point, the passer, the initiator of the offense. Having those guys on the floor at the same time is pretty redundant. So I think that staggering those minutes is so important. Having both of them be able to create without having the other on the floor, that's really important to the Warriors being able to win this game. Next up, let Steph run on offense. This is a very similar point to Draymond and CP3 splitting time. I don't think that Stephen Curry does his most efficient work with the ball in his hands to start a half-court set. Whenever he's playing off the ball and can exhaust his defender by running from one side of the court down to the other, cut through the middle, go up to the top of the key, grab the ball, come off a screen, pass the ball, run back around, and have a wide open three. Like, that's when Steph is at his best, not bringing the ball up the floor. So letting him run is so important. Last but not least, the number one key to victory for the Kings was getting Sabonis the ball. If you're the Warriors, you have to deny him the basketball. Number one distributor, the second best scorer easily on this Kings team. You can't let, in terms of the talent level, you can't let the best player get the basketball and potentially cost you your game. Very similar to this Kings point, you can't let Steph beat you. You can't let Sabonis beat you. So deny him the basketball because him on the three-point line is not nearly the threat that he is in the post. So let's talk about the predictions. I'm a Warriors fan. I'm obviously biased, but I think that the Warriors are going to win right now. They are extremely hot. They are, I think, 10-3 in their last 13. The Kings are 2-5 in their last 7. The Kings have a huge lack of depth right now due to their injuries Andrew Wiggins has been playing great basketball over the last 3 months. Specifically in the month of April, he averaged 17 points, which looks like the Andrew Wiggins that was nearly the finals MVP in 2022-23 season. I'm sorry, the 2021-2022 season when the Warriors won the championship. Andrew Wiggins played a massive role in the Boston Celtics series and the Dallas Mavericks series, and he looks like that player right now. So he is the X factor for the Warriors. The Warriors also just have a plethora of talent. I mean, you've got your rookie and Braden Podziemski. You've got Jonathan Kuminga, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Chris Paul, Moses Moody, Kevon Looney. There's a lot of depth on this Warriors team, and I think that the scoring could come from any of those positions. So I think that the Warriors definitely have the superior talent to the Kings. Next up, we've got a lack of shooting for the Kings. Having Malik Monk out, Kevin Huerter out, those are probably your two most efficient high-volume shooters on the team. De'Aaron Fox makes 4 threes a game, but I wouldn't call him elite. And Keon Ellis, like I said, he is definitely a role player, not an elite shooter. The Warriors can just shoot threes for days, and I think that that's a huge difference maker. But last but not least, we've already seen this story before last year. The Warriors won 4 of the last 5 games against the Kings. I don't see that playing differently. In the regular season even, the Warriors won 2 games, lost 2 games. In the 2 games that they lost versus the Kings, they only lost by 1 point in the first game, 1 point in the second game. I think they've got the Kings number, and this is the last chance for the Warriors. I think they have just a little bit of juice left in the tank to get this team to maybe a playoff spot. It's going to depend on who wins that Lakers-Pelicans game. But, my friends, that is going to do it for this episode of Plizzon's Podcast. I'll be doing an Eastern Conference version of this tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.